Welcome to Builder Nation. Today we are introducing Zygo, a company that has mastered the art of audio for swimmers. Zygo's headphones are designed with bone conduction technology, allowing swimmers to stream music and audio directly from their phones underwater. With impressive range, battery life, and added features like lap counting and tempo trainer, Zygo is redefining the swimming experience. Keep watching to learn more about this technology and what it means for athletes everywhere. Today we are joined by Sheera Goren, CEO and founder at Zygo. Welcome, Sheera. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Okay, well, I would like to start talking about you and your professional background. You were in the School of Law at the University of California in LA, and you were working in different companies in the legal department. How did you decide to make a completely change to find Zygo with Charlie, your other co-founder?
You mean it's not a natural progression to go from being a lawyer to doing this?
Yeah, no, well.
It's not. It wasn't as calculated, just as like a brief summary. When I was in law school, I knew that I didn't want to work at a big law firm. When I was talking to a lot of people, no one really loved what they did. And so I kind of fell into this small niche of hospitality law where I could work in-house at a company that owned hotels and restaurants. And I was quite passionate about that industry. And so I think that was like a first small example of kind of going against the grain in terms of what everyone was doing. But while I was working as a lawyer, I started a nonprofit called Dinating. And that really, I did it by myself. And it was my first real company, learning very quickly what I wasn't good at, and also just kind of flexing some skills and developing new ones in terms of how you start a company, how you grow it or don't grow it, the obstacles and all the challenges that arise from it. But in doing that, I think I kind of got the itch a little bit to maybe eventually start my own thing. And then as I was working for the company, it got kind of like rolled up and basically everyone got laid off. And so I was kind of forced into this position where I got severance. I traveled a little bit, and I kind of like asked myself like what I wanted to be doing. And reflecting on the past 5 years, I really did want to kind of be able to be my own boss, do my own thing and build something. My legal education I loved it. I really loved it. But every time I was at a company, I was really more interested in the business side of things. I wanted to be involved in the negotiations. And so I took myself on a trip. I came home. Charlie and I actually went to high school together. Mm-hmm. But we hadn't stayed in touch, but we reconnected at a mutual friend's wedding. And we basically spent the whole wedding talking about our love of boutique fitness. So you have SoulCycle, Barry's Bootcamp, Pilates, yoga, boxing. And we wanted to do a triathlon, and there was nothing in the swim space. And so we really just started pulling the thread of why hasn't swimming come into the modern day fitness era? And so our first business was actually a swim class. It wasn't even the hardware.
I check about that too. Yeah.
Right. So the swim class was really like, this was a class that was selfish. We wanted to take it that could be fun and engaging and make swimming not monotonous and silent and boring. And so from that February 25th, 2017, the next day, we drove back to LA and started iterating for these classes. And so it kind of just naturally fell for us to be able to do that. But it wasn't like going from law straight into swim, because I wasn't a swimmer either. I played soccer in college. But before this, I really didn't swim. So it was like a very selfish endeavor to want this class that didn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, when I was also reading about this and now that you are talking about this, it's like, yeah, because I am not a professional swimmer at all. But since I am 1 year old, I took swim class because I had asthma. So it was really important to do swim since I am really, really a kid. So yeah, at some point it's amazing. The swimming is amazing, but at some point it gets boring because you are just swimming and not talking with anybody, maybe just your coach, and that's it. and
Right.
and you don't have music, you don't have of course you have teammates, but it's not the same as football, as you said, that you have a team
Right.
that you play together, you work together all the time. So I think that when I read about Zygo, I was like, oh, this is amazing, because yeah, you have many things that you can do with just the headphones there.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so I now I want to know like more like the specific feature that Zygo has, but how is this Zygo's bone conduction technology work to deliver audio underwater? How is that possible?
Yeah, so again, like I'm not an engineer either, so which I think the only reason that we did this was because we didn't know how hard it was going to be at the beginning of it because we
Yeah.
might not. So when we looked at the landscape, the only things that existed were MP3 players,
Mhm.
which you're younger than me. I don't think anyone younger than me owns an MP3 player, like being able to like plug it into the
Yeah, and
computer and
put
make
it.
music. And yeah, so it kind of shocked us that there was no way to stream audio underwater.
Underwater.
So from that moment, we then tried like everything that existed, and we ended up finding one bone conduction headset that we kind of hacked together that worked, but had a lot of product flaws. And so we took it to an industrial designer and kind of reverse engineered it to see, what the guts were, what was possible for us to make it better. And I mean, it took us about 3 years to develop our first headset because you're really going against the laws of physics to be able to have audio penetrate water. So we didn't invent bone conduction. Bone conduction's been around for a while. Like a lot of hearing aids use it. But as a technology, it actually works better underwater because the water helps with the conductivity. It's why there's not a lot of bone conduction on land.
Mhm.
There's a few players, but it's never going to compete the same as like in-ear, over-ear, like noise canceling headphones. But underwater, it works really well. So with the headset, kind of like the beginning of it, the issues were, it was like, how do you put an antenna
Mhm.
in a very small space?
Yeah.
Because that was like the biggest thing is that like, now this is with our second product, like the antenna flips up
Yeah,
and down.
the
It's quite
C2, right?
big. Yeah, the Z2. But that was the biggest factor because like at first our engineer basically wanted you to put like a shark fin on your head, like a big
Yeah.
antenna to be able to get it, which like from a consumer perspective, like we can't sell that
Yeah.
product. So that was kind of like the biggest like logistics of finding an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer that understood kind of the form factor that we wanted, and really being able to put such a large antenna in a small headset so that you can hear audio underwater.
Yeah, that's crazy because of course we have now many products that are waterproof, but it's not the
Right.
same being waterproof that works actually underwater.
Exactly. And also, and like a lot of the MP3 players will say that they work underwater, but they are waterproof. So they're
Yeah.
like pre-downloaded. It doesn't mean the same thing as actually streaming underwater. So yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that technology, it's crazy, and I understand. Of course, when you are not an engineer, it's super hard to understand. But I
Yeah,
think that you have a really good team that you work with. So I think that was really helpful for you and Charlie, of course.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
And now that you show us the C2, I want to know what are the improvements that has this C2 model compared to the previous versions.
Yeah, so from like just a product standpoint, so the case is now also the transmitter. So it opens and it has a battery inside as well. So like an AirPods, like it'll charge, and then the headset. So it's just the headset in the case. Our Z1 had a headset, a separate transmitter, and the case. So we streamlined that
Just
aspect of it.
everything in one.
Yeah, basically. And then from a performance standpoint, the audio quality will be better, the range will be better. We have a flip turn feature, so the audio doesn't cut out when you do a flip turn. And then we'll also have lap counting, so you can. For us, what gets us excited is kind of more like the gamification of it. So via the app, it can be like, like, hey, you just swam the length of the English Channel, or if you want to add to your team's leaderboard to make it kind of more community driven and take a sport and make it a little bit more engaging with your friends or with your family or whatever. And so, yeah, like overall, and then from an internal standpoint for us, we cut about $100 off our product costs. So like from a business model perspective, our first version was so expensive for us to make.
Mhm.
And it wasn't as reliable in the field as we wanted it to be. So it became just like really hard for us to scale. Whereas this one, hopefully we can scale more quickly and then open up different distribution channels.
Wow, that's amazing. And you talk about the lap counting and how
Mhm.
this lap counting and I read some about the tempo trainer that I mentioned in the introduction, how these features can assist swimmers during their workouts.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tempo trainer, just for someone who's like really trying to stay on track as they swim laps. That's in front of the paywall too. Like you don't have to pay additional for the app if you just want to track your laps, which can help kind of just like with stroke count on like a very basic level. And then with the lap counting, we've always had an accelerometer in the headset. The hardware component is relatively cheap. It's really the software to read it that becomes expensive. But from that perspective, I just think it adds another dynamic to your workout. I think people are now like inundated with data, like everything you can pull data from. And so we're not going to, compete with like, your Apple Watch and stuff, but it'll be just as good as it. And then it can also with like, let's say you do one of our 30-minute HIIT workouts, and then you also get your distance and your lap count. And then maybe you revisit that same workout. And then the next time you like beat your distance or your lap
Yeah,
count.
like
So
you see that you are improving.
right. You can improve for yourself. And also I think what we found, we don't have lap counting right now, but anecdotally from a lot of our customers, they'll tell us, like, oh, I used to swim half a mile, or I used to swim 20 minutes. And now with Zygo, because I'm listening to something, I swim for 45 minutes or I swim a mile. And so, from that perspective, like we don't have like data to quantify that, but we have a lot of customer stories that just because they're more engaged, swimming can just become a better experience overall, which for us, that's like the best thing we could ever hear. That's why we're doing this. So I think the lap counting will only add like an additional element to the overall experience of it.
Yeah, and it's good because also I try to remember the times that I did, I don't know, workout or to the gym. It's different when you go without music, without anything, that when you go actually with music, or maybe you hear a podcast, a workout, everything. So it's like it's totally different because for me at least it's boring when I don't hear something. Like I can't.
Well, I think for you, I think you're in the majority. I mean, for me too, I would never go on a run right now and not listen to something. And so again, for us, we were just like the same playbook should apply for swim, like listening to something or having a coach who doesn't see you but tells you you're doing a good job makes you feel like you're doing a good job. Like that's what Peloton does. They don't see you at home, but they're like, keep going. And that's, I feel like for swim especially, it only enhances, the activity.
Yeah, and I think that it's really helpful also, like that you said, that you hear somebody that is telling you that you can go, you keep going. It's like just because of that you are like, oh, okay, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah, and well, I also another of the features that the the C2 has is the walkie-talkie feature, no? And how do you think that this improves the experience, and not just for swimming, because of course, as we saw some weeks ago, the Olympics, we have many other sports into water like surf, sailing, canoeing, and water polo, etc. So how do you think this could improve the experience for the athletes?
Yeah, so our first version had it too. I mean, when we built it, because it has a one-way feature, it was kind of ancillary. We didn't know if coaches would like it or not, but it's become like a great feature for us. I mean, again, as two non-swimmers, when we observed pool behavior, we were like, so a coach has to wait for a swimmer to come all the way back to tell them what they did like 30 seconds ago. It feels so inefficient. Every other sport, like in real time, you get to know like what you did something wrong. So we saw a lot of coaches, especially in like one-on-one privates, being able to like talk directly to their swimmers. And one coach said to us, like, what used to take him like 20 minutes takes him like 10 minutes. It like cuts the time down because you're just giving instantaneous feedback. And so you're able to change on the fly. With Z2, the difference is because we don't have the standalone transmitter, it'll be a function of the app. So it'll look a lot like if you take a Zoom call on your phone when you have like tap to speak. So you can like tap it and then be able to talk directly. And again, we didn't, the product would still exist if that feature didn't exist. But I do think that like in terms of overall swim, it's for sure helpful. And anyone that we know who's had like a lesson using that walkie-talkie feature, it's like someone just like hand-holding you as you're swimming. You're not alone in it, and you can make adjustments in real time. I just think the like learning curve is so much faster when you like know exactly like what to do next, and especially because swim is so form driven that like, you know, like like an elbow lift or like kicking or whatever can really change how you perform in your swim. And again, most of our customers aren't professional swimmers. They're like you, who can swim, but somehow think if you're not an Olympian, you're not a swimmer, which like our benchmark is like, if you won't drown in a pool, you're a potential customer for us. Like that is our pool of people. So it's like another feature that can enhance your ability to swim or your interaction with it.
Yeah, that's true. And also the you said like something that takes, I don't know, 20 minutes before, because of the, I don't know, in other sports, you have the coach next to the field and they are screaming to the players and everything. But of course, when you are underwater, you can't, even if you scream, nobody's going to hear you. So I think it's really helpful to have that feature now. And now that you are having it on the app, I think it's easier too. And I want to talk about the app too now. How this Zygo app complement the functionality of the Zygo headphones?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. So it's not mandatory, right? So like different than some of the other connected fitness where you have to subscribe to be able to use the hardware. Because we're solving the problem of just streaming audio, it's like you can listen to your Spotify and your podcasts and all that. The app, again, we're biased in this because I wasn't a swimmer and I listened, let's say, to like Peloton or Nike runs or whatever. We wanted workouts for swim because as a non-swimmer, like what's a good workout? Like 2 laps, but is that a good workout? Who knows? So the reason it's so complimentary is because, you know, we have like 500 plus workouts of all types, from like learn how to freestyle to like, you know, hour long kind of like set intervals. And we have a music license with UMG. So it's all paired to like fun music, just like a lot of the other workouts are. So the time goes by faster. You have a coach kind of reminding you of form. Most of the workouts are time-based. So it could be like, you know, if you're sprinting, it's for 20 seconds. So whether you're in a 50-meter pool or you're in a 10-meter pool, it's just time-based. So it's kind of pool size agnostic. And overall, it just like makes the swimming experience that much more fun. The same way like a Peloton cycle makes cycling more fun. Like you could go on a bike and do it, but like you want a coach telling you what to do. And then eventually like being able to share a workout with a friend, or like adding it with the metrics, when the metrics are involved, then you can start for yourself, but then also with other people, gamify it a little bit, which makes swimming just like, not just like a solitary sport anymore.
Yeah, and it's really cool that you have like many like workouts, many things to, as you said, for not professional swimmers that doesn't know anything or doesn't know how to do the basic, like the basic workouts. Sure. So I think that it's really helpful for them too, because it's not like just focus on the athletes, the Olympic ones. It's for everybody that wants to enjoy, to swim, to do a sport, to be fit. I don't know, like in general for everybody. Yeah, and we have workouts that like, you know, for like women that don't want to get their hair wet, we have like dry hair workouts, or we have like prenatal workouts. Like people, this is what we love about swim. Like, you know, in our journey, we've had pushback on market size, and we're more bullish than ever on it. But people come to swim for so many different reasons, and so, you know, we don't want to try and be everything to everyone, but I do think that like we are uniquely set up to like have offerings for different people who maybe grew up swimming, people are later life swimming, or maybe they got injured, or maybe they're older and their like knees are breaking down, so they come to swim, or they're pregnant, or like or have asthma, for any reason. And so that's where I think for us, like, you know, we're a hardware product, but the app allows us to be more of a brand and more speak to people who are also like us, where we thought swimming was really intimidating, and we want it to be more democratized, where people can feel like that is more approachable. Yeah, that's true. I totally agree with you. And I think that the Zygo and the C2 is really amazing. Like I, of course, I read about it and checked on the website, but now hearing you, everything that you have with this new product it's crazy. Like I sometimes it's hard to believe that these things exist in these days. But it's really crazy and it's amazing, and I am really happy that this exists, because as I told you, I was in this I was swimming for many years, and I was like just alone in the pool with the coach, and that's it. And now I think this will be crazy and will be change everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's people, when they say it's a game changer, is really exciting to us, and I don't think I'm like so smart for doing this. It was just shocking that it didn't exist. I was like, I don't understand how you swam so long in a pool. Like, how did this, surely this has to exist. So, I think if it took two people who were, so unaware of the sport to come in and do it, I understand that. But, now I think like there's no turning back. Like, you don't go from black and white TV to color back to black and white. And
not at all.
How we see this with swim is like, the moment you can start streaming underwater, you're not going to go back.
Yeah, of course. And I imagine with developing this, I mean, the first headphones that Zygo has, and now the C2 model, you face many like challenge developing that, your team, of course. So what were these challenges, and how did you overcome them?
Still overcoming some. So the challenges do not go away. Yeah. I think on like a personal level, not being an engineer was hard, because it's almost like you don't even know what questions you're not asking, which scares you more, because you just don't know. And so now I've learned over 7.5 years, I'm a little bit more dangerous, but even still, every day that things come up, I'm just like, if I understood it substantively more, are there other questions that I should be asking? And really the way you learn is that like, you don't ask the question, you learn, and then you learn to ask the question. So that's like for my own kind of journey. And then from like a product perspective, again, like, we have 2 utility patents on it, but it's a really, really complicated technology to be able to get this antenna right. We have to get FCC and CE clearing. So you're dealing within like kind of limited public bandwidths we use radio frequency. And just from a technology perspective, I understand why it doesn't exist now, because it's, relatively speaking, Bluetooth is so much easier, and Bluetooth doesn't work underwater. And so the challenges of it is like constantly balancing decisions of like, you can make you can make it a little bit lighter, but maybe you're giving up a little bit of range, or maybe you can like with the battery, like we're making these decisions that we think will enhance like the customer experience, but because we're a small company, we're not Apple yet, like we don't have the resources to make the same level of like mistakes, so we do the best that we can, but the challenges still exist. I mean, Z2 has been a bit delayed in coming out, just because we're perfecting the software, because we want to make the best product possible, but that part's hard too, because unlike software, hardware just takes a lot of time to like iterate and then test and then redo. Could be like a month, and the days just keep going by. So yeah, I mean, we're still overcoming stuff, but we have about 40,000 Zygo 1s out in the world right now, and hopefully with Zygo 2, we can double, triple that, and start to scale a lot more quickly.
Yeah, I imagine all the challenges that you face, and also, as you said, you are not an engineer, so I think that will be so hard to understand, to like maybe like you said, I don't know if I'm going to if I should ask this, and then when you didn't, you know that you have to do it. Yeah, but as I told you, I think that it's really important to have a really good team with you, that works with you, that helps, that if they have the same vision to go to the same way. Like, I think that's really, really important too.
Sure.
Yeah, and in today's business, now talking about challenge, but in today's business, how do you face the challenge? But now talking about the procurement process and how you make your supply chain main resilient.
Like how we build it, how we've secured that. Yeah. So We tried to kind of build some of it locally, I mean, but domestically in the US, and it's nearly impossible. Charlie actually is, he lived in China and speaks the language. And so he's quite comfortable. And so we did a bunch of factory trips out there to see, we needed like a really unique skill set, people who had experience in a variety of fields to be able to be confident that they could help create this. And we found an amazing partner. They're owned by a Finnish company. And so they've been great, and they've been with us since the beginning. And we feel very lucky to have found them. I mean, it took us about, I think, like 5 or 6 trips to get there. Mm-hmm. But I think when you talk about team, I mean, really having like a good manufacturing partner who like believes in your vision, believes in you, because it's not just going to be smooth sailing, whether it's on them or on you. And then especially post-COVID, I mean, we launched during COVID. So you have a partner where like component parts are like at an all-time high. There's shortages, freight costs are crazy. And so being able to weather the storm together was really important. The big thing with Zygo too was our first product cost us so much money to make that it was expensive for the factory to make. It was expensive for their suppliers, and it was really expensive for us. So it just, we couldn't, there was just no scale to it. So with Zygo 2, we worked together with them to like make sure that the costs made sense, that it made sense, you know, on their side, also made sense on our side, and that we chose component parts that were more readily available so we could set ourselves up for success, which again, having a good partner who's invested in you, I think is kind of a game changer, and has been for us.
Yeah, you build trust, you build like a teamwork with your suppliers too, because as you said, during COVID was so difficult for everybody. So you need to be sure that your supplier, your team is still with you, is going to help you no matter what. They are going to be there. So I think that's really important to have a good relation also with your suppliers.
Definitely.
Yeah, and now I want to know if Zygo have some future innovations, or how do you see Zygo in the next few years for the swim audio technology space?
Yeah, I can dream a little. Okay, let's go. So from a hardware perspective, like we're not going to come out with like a suite of, of hardware. For us, it's like make the best streaming headset possible. So if like there's things to iterate on there, it would just be because we want to make the best product possible. What gets us really excited, besides for like the scale, it's like we haven't even scratched the surface in the US and like, Europe and beyond. Like there's so many swimmers in this world. So like growing a lot faster, it gets us really excited. And then really leaning into the subscription side of things with the app, where you can really form communities. I mean, to us, like if we're just like, again, like dreaming, you could travel to a new city and open up the app and it could tell you like, geolocate, like where's the closest pool and like what the lap times are. And then like there, we've pilot tested this, like there could be like Peloton has live classes. There could be a live Zygo class. So like maybe it's 8 a.m. here and it's in the afternoon in London and wherever. And our coach is putting everyone through a live swim class, and you can be anywhere in the world. Wow. Taking a class, because again, the same formula applies. So then people can be at a pool and see each other using it and be like, oh, you're coming here for the Zygo class, and like multiple headsets compare to one transmitter. So it could be like multiple people doing the workout at the same time. Like that makes me smile. That is like, I think the cool part about this, and being able to see people at a pool, swimming with it, and having fun with it. That's our vision for the next, however many years.
Yeah, and sounds crazy, like also to make like a community of people that are using the same product, but they are the same class. No matter where they are at the same class, or they are like seeing each other how they are improving, or how they did the swim that day. Like it's crazy.
Totally. Or like, you have like book clubs, but people listen to audiobooks all the time. So you have like an underwater book club where like you listen to the same book and then you share it. Like that is like, that would be the best. That to us is like what is the reason that we're building this.
Yeah, of course, because change like your solitary sport to a community sport with a team, with people, with new people, with friends. It sounds crazy. And I think that Zygo is going to make it in the next years. I'm sure about it, and
Me too.
I am
Thanks.
excited to see when that happens for sure. And well, to finish with this interview, and now that we talk about many things that challenge that you face, all the process that you had during these years, I want to know if you like you have like maybe an advice for people that is starting their own journey now, maybe that you wanted to hear some years ago, but that you think that is important for people that now knows about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things that always come to mind are one, to not accept the status quo. And what I mean by that is like a lot of careers are so linear, like you go to law school and then you do this. And I understand like, you know, it all looks different for different people, but I think constantly questioning along the way, like, do I like spending my time this way? Do I like this path? Do the people that are ahead of me, like, do I like what they're doing? Do I even want to do what they're doing? Because I think there's like ways that you can take your experiences and pivot, and those experiences aren't lost. They still help inform the way that you go, but you don't have to follow the one path. And then two, I think when someone's at the beginning, I think like talk to as many people about it. So many people hold things close to them because someone's going to take their idea. It's like, you know, people want your success. They don't want any of the work to get to where it is. And it is so hard to build a successful company. And I think when you talk to people, so separate anecdotes from data, because people have a lot of opinions and you don't necessarily have to take them on as gospel. But I do think it helps sharpen your vision. It helps sharpen your mission and kind of your why. And also I just think it is an iterative process. So that would be kind of my two thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that it's really helpful also for the people, the young ones, and probably not the young ones that are starting, because they are maybe afraid of I studied this career and I don't know if I like it, or I don't know if I still keep with this and I want to make something. But it's normal to be afraid at the beginning when you want to create something new. But I think that it's really, really helpful. And I thank you, Sheera, for being here, for sharing all your knowledge, your experience with us. It was really nice to hear everything from you. And I want to know where we can find you and Zygo, Charlie, any social media handles or website.
Yeah, so our website is shopzygo.com. Our Instagram is Zygogram. I'm at Sheego and Charlie is at Charlie Melvoy, and I think you can find it through our main Instagram as well. And we're still pretty small and lean, so we respond to everything and happy to always connect with anyone.
Perfect. And for everybody that is watching, be sure to visit our website, buildernation.io. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn by following Builder Nation for the latest updates and exclusive content. Thank you all for being part of this community. We will see you in the next episode. And thanks again, Sheera, for being part of Builder Nation.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to be here.